Hey there, House here. I wanted to take some time to talk about the NBA draft that is set to take place tonight, as well as make my Week 11 predictions. So first, let's talk about LaMelo Ball. He's a can't-miss player. He's a top-tier point guard. His only real downside is that you may have to deal with his father if you draft him. James Wiseman is a center who is projected to go number 2 overall to the Golden State Warriors in most mock drafts. Centers can be described as a dime a dozen in this league. So it's kind of surprising to see James set to go so high to Golden State. But with that being said, he is 7'1" and 240 pounds, so it'd be easy to plug him into their starting lineup. Anthony Edwards is a shooting guard who's projected to go first overall as opposed to LaMelo in other mock drafts that I've seen. He's a guy that's expected to have some instant scoring success in the NBA. So those are the projected top 3 picks. Now we're on to our 4th pick, which is held by the Chicago Bulls. The big question is, who are they going to draft? Who are they going to pick up to help this young team and this new front office and head coach bring this team to respectability and possibly playoff contention? Well, the names are Obi Toppin, who's a National Player of the Year, Denny Avdia, who has played over 100 games of professional ball overseas, and he's been compared as the next Luka Doncic. Now, whether that's true or not remains to be seen, but if he is, he would be a can't-miss player. And Patrick Williams, who's a freakish athlete who defends the ball incredibly well, as well as some potential for an outside shot for a big man, and puts up some solid numbers with some limited playing time that he received in his only year at college. Now, the issue for me is that these are all small or power forwards. Personally, I believe this team has far too many big men as is, but I'm not in the front office calling the shots. So we'll just have to see who they pick. Now I want to just briefly touch on the trades that have happened so far. Chris Paul was traded to the Suns. He's now teaming up with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. Now this is definitely going to help them out in the short term, probably push them to the playoffs. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be enough in the long term to make them champions. Partially because Chris Paul is getting older. He's not as young as he was before. He did play incredibly well last year with the Thunder. I just don't know how many more of those years he has in him. Another trade that happened was Robert Covington being traded from the Houston Rockets to the Portland Trail Blazers for Trevor Ariza, who is in the final year of his contract, and 2 first-round draft picks, 1 this year and 1 next year. Now Ariza is still a solid enough player, probably a nice complement piece coming off the bench. He can shoot the outside shot, and he still defends pretty well. Is this enough to maybe persuade Harden and Westbrook to stay with Houston and stick it out for the rest of their contract to see what they can do? Maybe, but we'll just have to see what happens within this next week if those 2 players get moved how they want to. We'll see. And we have the Milwaukee Bucks trading for Drew Holiday, who averaged 19 points per game last year and has 1 year left on his contract after this one, but that 1 year is a player option. And Bogdan Bogdanovic, who averaged 15 points per game, and this is the final year of his contract. A lot of people are questioning if this is enough to keep Giannis with the Bucks after this year. As most of you may know, he is going into the final year of his contract, and he is the big free agent ticket that everybody wants. So with these 2 moves, I don't think it's enough to make him want to stay unless they do something truly phenomenal in the playoffs. It's clear that this team will make the playoffs because they are talented enough to do so. The big question mark is, will they finally win one? And if they aren't able to win, Giannis might not want to stay. And this could turn out really ugly for the Bucks if that happens, as if Drew Holiday doesn't want to stay and opt into his final year, if Bogdan doesn't want to stay and Giannis doesn't want to stay, you've just lost 8 players and 3 first-round draft picks in the span of a year, just with all the people you traded away to get these 2 players and then losing Giannis as well. It could be ugly in a couple of years for the Bucks. All right, and with that, let's just transition right into the NFL portion of this video. Last week was not my best week, but it also wasn't my worst. I went 8-6 for a win percentage of 57%. My overall record is 96, 45-1 for a win percentage of 67%. Cardinals versus Seahawks on Thursday night. I'm picking the Cardinals. These 2 teams met just about 3 weeks ago. They showcased 2 premier offenses that translated into an incredibly entertaining game that went into overtime that saw the Cardinals come out victorious. I believe this matchup will have that same result without the overtime. Falcons versus Saints. I'm picking the Falcons. We are officially in the Jameis Winston era of the New Orleans Saints. Those who didn't hear Drew Brees, in his last game in the first half, he got sacked, he broke 5 ribs, and had a collapsed lung, which he continued to play with for the remainder of that half. This new era could showcase a bigger arm in Winston, but with that could show some increased poor decision-making at that position. A turnover or two paired with the Falcons offense that has been performing much better as of late will give them the advantage. Bengals versus Washington. So I realized that I had picked the Washington football team to win 4 weeks in a row, and they only won once for me. And with the way the Bengals played last week, I was really leaning towards Washington for a surprising 5th pick in a row, until I remembered that the Bengals played the best defense in the league last week. So with that, I'm picking the Bengals. Eagles versus Browns. I'm picking the Browns here. The Eagles are truly a hot mess right now. I thought that things would get a little bit better with them getting healthier on the offensive side, with both of their starting tackles coming back, their starting running back, and Alshon Jeffrey to help out in the passing game. And with all that, they only mustered 17 points. Lions versus the Panthers. I'm picking the Lions here. Both teams have injuries to the quarterback position, with Stafford injuring his throwing hand. X-rays came back negative. Bridgewater also injured his right knee. His X-rays showed that there was no structural damage, but it's unlikely that Bridgewater will play. Stafford has more of a chance of playing this week, and not to mention that Christian McCaffrey is going to miss this week as well. So I'm giving the advantage to the Lions. Titans versus Ravens. I'm picking the Titans. Neither of these teams looks very good right now, but it's clear that this Ravens offense is nothing like it was last year. So with that, I'm sticking with Henry in this matchup. Patriots versus Texans. I'm picking the Patriots with a surprising win over the Ravens. They've been playing some pretty good football over the past 2 weeks, and it also appears that they have a real legitimate player in Damian Harris. Steelers versus Jaguars. Taking the Steelers here. Dolphins versus the Broncos. Taking the Dolphins. Jets versus Chargers. Picking the Chargers. I would be genuinely surprised if the Jets actually won a game this year. Cowboys versus Vikings. I'm picking the Vikings. Packers versus Colts. Now, I'm going to pick the Packers here. This is a game that can really go either way. You've got a Packers team that has a solid offense that is getting healthier in that regard against a Colts defense that has been playing really well all season long. This matchup is definitely one to watch for sure. Chiefs versus the Raiders. I'm going to pick the Chiefs here. I know the Raiders won this matchup earlier in the season, but I believe the Chiefs will take them down this time around, for any number of reasons, including the Raiders taking a victory lap in their team buses after winning their earlier matchup. And that leaves us with the Rams versus the Bucs. I'm picking the Rams here. This is the game that I bounced back and forth with in my head. The obvious choice would have been the Bucs, given their dominating performance last week. Then I remembered that the Bucs have this ability to look like world beaters one week and then absolute scrubs the next. So I'm going to pick the Rams because they have a consistent enough offense and they showcase a more than solid defense. Well, there you have it. That's my analysis and those are my picks. Thank you for tuning into the House Report. As always, I hope my picks go better this week than they did last week. Check in as the games progress just to see how good or bad I am doing. And remember, you'll win some and you'll lose some, but the house always wins.